Good morning. We're here at Harkers Island, North Carolina with Debra Kay and Manly Rose and the miracle story of God's healing power. We want to share with you today so that you'll be encouraged and know that God can heal, save, and deliver. Debra Kay, good morning. Tell us your story.
Okay, I started last February. It all started with a pinched nerve in my shoulder. I went to the doctor, and she told me it was a pinched nerve probably, but she done x-rays, and I still kept having it, so she started sending me to doctors for tests. I had x-rays, I had MRIs, I had all the testing done. Well, while she was doing that, I mentioned it to my lap band doctor, and he said that where my lap band was at, there was a nerve, and it could be pressing against the lap band, causing the pain in my shoulder. So he suggested that we did the light. So we did the light. And me, Manny, and Sister Judy went over there, and while I was in there that day, Manny came out to Manny and told Manny that my heart had fluctuated, right?
Right, and they gave her some medicine and I got her straightened out, but later on that night, she got in some severe pain in her side, and we had to take her to the emergency room. And while she was in the emergency room, they did an x-ray. When they come back, it said the bottom part of her lung had collapsed. But it could be because she wasn't breathing right. So we went on home, and the next night we had to take her back again. And they put her on Darbyset.
They
right?
put me on Percocet, they put me on, I was on from pill to pill, but from then, they checked my blood count. My blood count was up. She knew there was some infection, but she didn't know where. Now this all happened after they did the light, my black man. And she sent me to the ride clinic. I went there 3 times, and Dr. Queerville, he kept doing blood work, and he knew my count was up, but he said it wasn't cancer. He couldn't find no cancer nowhere. So the last time I remember going to him, I was still having all this problem too. But she sent me to him for infection, and I had started with a bad cough. They put me on breathing treatments, I was on pain medicines, I was on antibiotics, I was on so much drugs. I hadn't slept in a bed for 2 months. I'd been in the chair, I weren't eating, weren't sleeping, was just in constant pain. And every time I'd go to the emergency room, they'd send me back home. They done some MRIs, they done CAT scans, and then I don't even know when I went to the hospital. He'll have to tell you the rest from here.
Well, this lap band thing started in March. She started with neck in February. March is when we went to the lap band doctor, and that's when things started going downhill. She started with this real bad cough, and I remember one evening she coughed 2.5 hours without even stopping. And we go to the doctor. They'd send her back home. And it was getting so bad that, well, she couldn't sleep in the bed at all. She slept in the chair for 2 months. She didn't even get into bed. I remember one night she tried to get in bed and she had to get right back out. The cough was so bad, coughing. And then it was getting into May, and she started having trouble breathing. She couldn't breathe at all. I mean, she could breathe, but she was struggling, and this was getting worse and worse and worse. So Labor Day, on Memorial Weekend, on that Monday, I took her to the hospital, and they didn't even take her in the back. As far as she got was that first room. Told her she was complaining of this pain in her side, left side, and they told her it was a pulled muscle. They didn't even send her in the back. This was Monday, which was Memorial Day. Thursday, she was still in so bad of pain and stuff and couldn't breathe at all, hardly. I took her to our family doctor. Our family doctor was gone, but she had a sit-in for her. And Deb had her head on the table like this. She was, couldn't breathe. And telling her she couldn't breathe. Said, put me in the hospital and run some tests on me. She said, there's no need of putting you in the hospital. They'll send you back home, which they had done Monday. So that was Thursday. Saturday, she didn't go to bed. Of course, she hadn't been to bed in 2 months. I got up. She was sitting right here in the recliner and told me she couldn't get up, go to the bathroom. She was in bad shape. So then she called BJ.
I don't know.
Yeah, she called BJ, and he was in sea level, and he couldn't get here.
DJ or BJ?
DJ. And he couldn't get here, and he told her he called the rescue squad and let them come check her. Well, the rescue squad come and checked her, and her oxygen levels was low. Said, you better get her to the hospital. So we took her to the hospital. It was Saturday morning. We took her to the hospital, and they done an x-ray, and a woman doctor come back and said, I don't like what I see on this x-ray. We want to do a CAT scan. So that evening, I thought they were going to do it right away, because it's about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. But about 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening before they ever done the CAT scan. Well, they done the CAT scan, and her doctor come in. It was partners with her lap band doctor. He come back in and said, we've done the CAT scan, and your lap band is eroded. So we're going to have to operate. So that was 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening. Well, 9:30 that night, they operated on it, took it out. Well, I thought everything was going to be all right. I thought that would end everything. But Sunday morning, she didn't do too bad. Monday, she was so-so. And her sister and somebody was staying nights with somebody else, I can't remember now. Anyway, they were staying nights, and I was going mornings and relieving them. Thursday morning, I went in to relieve Judy, and she was in bad shape. She was in real bad shape. She was telling me she couldn't breathe. Well, I went got the nurses. I said, my wife can't breathe, there's something wrong. Well, they come in and checked her. 3 or 4 of them ran her checking her, and then, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes later, said, we're gonna have to put her in intensive care. So they sent her to intensive care. Well, I thought everything was gonna be all right. Because, they had took that thing out, and that was Thursday night. She was getting worse, worse, and worse. They said, we're going up with that tube down the throat, And then things were getting real bad. So I didn't know what to do. Jesse didn't know what to do. But anyway, we kept messing. Jesse come in and said, we're going to send her to Greenville. I said, okay, do what you want to do, son. Said, we're going to send her to Greenville. So they headed to Greenville with her. They got there at 12, 1 o'clock that night. Doctor come in. The doctor come in and said, it can go either way. We don't know. And well, next morning, she seemed to be stable a little bit, and it started after that. I go in one morning, they said she's done a little bit better last night. Then the next morning I go in and say she didn't do so good. So it went on and on and on. And we didn't know what to do. And
That was from March to June.
that was June 1st when they operated on her. Baby's birthday was that day. And the week started going by, and then I had 2 doctors come in. One about a week after she was in the hospital, they had to put her on dialysis, or 3 or 4 days they had to put her on dialysis. Started that, and she started swelling up. Her arms were like this, her legs were like this. I didn't know what to do. And I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks later, we didn't know what was happening, and the 2 doctors come in one morning. I'd go in early mornings and stay all day with her till that night. I'd go to the motel room, and 2 doctors come in and told me, said, your wife's gonna be on dialysis and have to breathe it through the rest of her life. I said, my Lord, what am I gonna do? And everybody started praying. Everybody, everywhere. We have people all over the United States praying. We had them in Spain praying. We had prayer meetings in front of the house. And people praying as hard as they could pray. And then, first of all, I was worried pretty bad, but it seemed like something changed inside of me and said, she's gonna be all right. And for being on it,
By the prayer call for you.
and yeah, and Sister Twyla give me a prayer cloth, and every morning when I went in, I would take it, and put it in her hand and pray with it. And I pray with her, and I've done that every morning. And I don't know, it was after they told me she was going to be on dialysis and everything, and told me that the only place they could send her would be Rocky Mount. They need Norfolk, and then Greensboro, and I was saying to myself, what am I going to do? How am I going to get to places like that and be with them and all that? And let me see.
She started to heal with the.
Well, yeah. I went in one morning because I knew, I had made my mind up that she was going to be on dialysis, But when she was on that dialysis machine, I counted 18 different things going in her body at one time. My Lord, And I went in one morning and I had got acquainted with the male nurses real good because, I'd been there so long that they knew me. And one of them told me, said, your wife made water a little bit last night. I said, what? Yeah, so she made water a little bit. I said, Lord have mercy. And 3 or 4 hours later that day, I was sitting there and she said, I got used the bathroom. I said, what? She said, yeah. And I told that nurse. And I said, my wife said she got used the bathroom. So he went and got the, thing and she paid the flood that day. My Lord. And he told me, son, don't worry, I've seen this happen before. Said, your wife's probably going to be all right, and every day that started getting no better. But anyway, in the sixth week, well, one night I got a call. One night about 11 or 12 o'clock. My aunt never went to sleep, and they said, what is your wife allergic to? And I don't know. He got no idea. I said, you got it on the records or stuff like that. They had it. They find it later, And when I went in that morning, they said your wife scared us last night. Said she coded last night. My Lord.
I had a bad seizure.
And then in the 6th week, I went in one morning and they almost said, your wife had a bad seizure last night. I said, oh my Lord. They said, we don't know how she's going to come out of it. Said, she had a real bad seizure. Said, we don't know if her mind's going to be messed up or what. But she had a real bad one. Said, that was Sunday morning. And they said, if you got anything to do home, go do it tomorrow because she's going to be out all day. Said, but a good time for you to run home and do what you got to do. Well, I had some bills that had to be paid and stuff. I said, okay, I'll do that. So I left that Sunday night and come home. And that Monday morning, I was over to the boathouse about 11, 12 o'clock or so, I guess. And I had never called the hospital before the whole time she had been in there, And something told me to call the hospital, and I called the hospital. And how my wife was doing. They said, your wife was up walking this morning. I said, what?
Manly, at that time, we were having a gathering at our house with Fernando. He was here from Spain.
That's right.
And we got an emergency call saying Debra Case had a seizure. Everybody pray. And we all gathered around and prayed and said, Lord, you've begun this good work. You will complete it. We are not receiving the seizure as anything wrong with her. She's going to be fine. And
anyway, they said, and I jumped in the car and I hit it Greenville. And when I got there, she was awake, she talked to me and stuff, but she still don't remember, but she talked to me. And, or didn't talk to me, of course she couldn't talk to me, but the next morning, I was on my way to Greenville, and on that 43 highway, I got a telephone call, and it was my doctor that said, I got somebody who wants to talk to you. And it was her. She wouldn't talk to me, but it was her, you know. And then the doctor said, I can't get her to talk now, but she's been talking. So we put a cap on that trick, and she'd been talking. And I said, as much as she talked, now she won't talk to me. But anyway, I went on to the hospital. I had top pick Nick Doris up in Newbern, and they went with me, and I went on to the hospital. And that day she was looking a lot better. And she's, you know, was alert and talking a little bit, not a whole lot, just a little bit. And then the next day on the way up, the same thing happened again. I got a call from the doctor, and it was her, and that day she started talking away. And from that day on, from the day she had the seizure, she started getting better that day. And from that day on, 2 weeks later, we come home. And
Well, and at that point, too, they said she'd probably have to go to Rocky Mount and stay there to be cared for.
Yeah.
From that point to the 2 weeks,
Yeah.
she got to come home.
right, yeah.
And
So
never
2
went
weeks
to any
time.
rehab,
Yeah,
never
because
had to
no.
go to any centers to
She had,
take care of
when she
her.
come home, they done some rehab with her, but she's a
Physical therapy
miracle.
and
And we
occupational.
got to give God the praise and the glory for it.
There is
And
a
being for
healing
God
power.
and people prayed, I don't think she'd have been here today. But that prayer works.
Amen.
They were praying everywhere I went, people said, we're praying for your wife, we're praying for your wife. And it was like that, right on till she,
Today.
Now, Debra Kay, when you first came to, what do you remember about the time that you were unconscious? Does anything stand out?
Only when I came to, I just had an impression that I had been to a big fire. But when I got there, they wouldn't let me in. So the way I can describe it, I never saw nothing. Except I just felt like I had been to somewhere real big. And I just couldn't get in, you know. I remember times, I don't remember nothing from, I don't even know when I left this house. But I remember being laid on the bed talking to the Lord. I was constantly talking to the Lord in my head to myself. I could see people. I remember Sister Twyla came one time, and Lisa, and I remember seeing them on the bed. And some more family members would come, a couple more that I remember. But that was about all I remember. He said he'd give me a board to write one, and I wrote things. I don't know none of that. I just know after the seizure, I remember the first people I remember really seeing after seeing him laying in bed was Brother Manley, Jane, and Rachel that day. That they came. I believe it was you and Eddie that were in it.
he knew, yeah.
And they came that day, and they were the first ones I remember. Because I had just come out of it, and then later that evening Jesse brought the baby. And they were the ones that I remember, the first one I remember seeing.
But it started, after the seizure, she started getting better.
Yeah.
And we were worried about how her mind was gonna be. So that doctor, she said, I'm just like I always was. You don't believe so, ask him.
Yeah, they thought my mind was a little messed up because I talked so fast and stuff.
Yeah.
So you believe without a shadow of a doubt that God healed
We
God,
know God.
we
is.
love
and
it.
restored
Yeah.
your life, and
Yeah.
that prayer
Yeah.
works.
She was,
So, and like Sister in church sings the song that says, don't give up on the brink of a miracle. That's the truth. Don't give up on God, because He is our brink of a miracle.
all right.